I was in a public place yesterday and I noticed a very unusual sight. It's pretty common that these days, especially, that you'll walk into a restaurant or walk into a public arena, maybe a Starbucks or even church. And what you see is everybody in the room staring at their phones about this far from their face. Or maybe if they're kids, they've got this thing going on and they're driving or they're playing some kind of war game on their phones, and that's the topic of their conversation. And from time to time they might glance up from their phone, but they're really more focused here. I saw a very unusual sight, a very rare sight. I actually saw two parents sitting at a table with their probably early teen, 14, 15 years old at the oldest, who had a big, fat book in front of him. And he had his face in that book reading away as his parents had a conversation. And from time to time, he would lay the book flat on the table and engage with his parents. And then he would pick his book back up and go back to reading it. But there were no phones in sight. Not a single cell phone. Can you believe that? In public. In 2018. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. It's an epidemic, really. In fact, it's an epidemic to such a degree that there are chiropractors now concerned about this motion. Maybe you remember far enough back to be concerned with the taco neck. It was a conversation of an advertising campaign. One of the restaurants said, you got to need a taco like this to keep all the stuff from dumping out, and so everybody has taco neck. And they had to go see the doctor to fix their taco neck. Well, now it's cell phone neck. Everybody stares at their cell phone, and so the posture of the spine from the back of the skull to the top of the shoulders is degenerating. Think about that for a moment. What kind of legacy are we leaving? We're causing medical problems because we're always staring at our cell phones. Who knew, right? It wasn't a problem we had 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 25 years ago. But now we have young people. And the problem they have is in their neck. Severe headaches, sleeplessness, pain, the ability to walk straight sometimes, because they're always staring at their cell phones, and that's the most comfortable place to hold a cell phone. That's a scary thought, but let me add some other scary thoughts to it. What about the idea that their behavior in public becomes our responsibility as parents or guardians? No, it's absolutely true. I can tell you of a time when my boys were young that I bore the burden financially for the whole neighborhood, basically, because my boys were part of a group of 4 or 5 other kids who decided to borrow the neighbor's pickup truck in his driveway. They didn't drive it anywhere, but they were jumping up and down in the bed of the truck, and from time to time they would climb over the hood and slide down the windshield like it was a slide, and they basically made his little pickup truck into a jungle gym. And they dented the roof and maybe left some scratches on it and jumped up and down in the bed, and we got sued over it. My boys were 9 and 10 years old. And it cost me a couple $1,000s to fix the guy's truck because all the other kids that were involved in it, their parents didn't have the mental fortitude nor the spinal fortitude to show up in court and face their accuser. And so the judge put it all on me and said, if you want to get the money back, you can go pursue them. And I'm like, obviously they're not adult enough to deal with it now. They probably never will be. And so we just paid the price for them. But we really paid the price because our children and someone else's children didn't behave in public in a way that they should have. Parents who don't leave the proper legacy, parents who don't teach their children the importance of big fat books and all the things you can get out of that, then they just don't know. Those kids can't be expected to be held to a higher standard. They don't learn to appreciate the finer things of life. They don't learn good conversational skills. They don't learn to dig into history for the value of the things that could be known. They only know what their cell phone tells them. They only know the news and propaganda, fake news or otherwise, that comes through their social media streams. They only know what they're told through their devices, which makes it really good to pump information into them or to distract them with lies, with video games, with entertaining videos that have nothing to do with real life. As parents and guardians, we are responsible to leave a legacy, i.e., our children, well heeled in the finer things of life, deeply informed and educated of the right way of doing things, capable, competent, intelligent, educated. That's our job as parents and guardians. As leaders, you need to make sure that you reinforce that concept, not just in your children, but in your team. If everybody on your team is walking around staring at their cell phone, buy them a book, for heaven's sake. Send them to a class. Give them some kind of exposure to something outside of the digital media world. Buy them a really old book. That's what I like to do. I bought some books yesterday from the 1930s and 40s. I'd love to get the ones back into the 1700s and 1800s. Those are really, really interesting to read. Sometimes they use big words I have to look up. Lead your legacy well, because people do what people see. I'm J Loren Norris for Leading Leaders Podcast on Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.